All right, welcome back to our fifth installment of Coffee with Coaches. I'm bringing you Coffee with Coaches this morning, but I'm sad to say that there's only two of us on this call that are actually drinking coffee right now. I just found out. I knew that my good friend Fran O'Leary is a tea drinker. Fran's got the Dunkin' cup. He's got his tea in there. And Fran, you've always just had tea, right? No, never coffee?
Always tea, Ryan. 10, 15 cups a day. Absolutely love the stuff. Start in the morning.
10 to 15?
Oh, I'll drive in from South Deerfield. I'll stop in Dunkin' Donuts on the way in Sunderland, and probably could stop again at one in university to get myself going for the day. Doesn't get me going. It's just I love the taste of it. There's no caffeine. If I miss it for a day, I'm not shaking or anything. Okay. I just like the taste. Irish people drink tea by the bucket.
And we put milk in it? Is that what you do?
Just milk, yeah. Just milk for me, yeah.
Good.
Russ will probably need some sugar to sweeten it, to liven them up, but I'm just good with the milk.
Russ has got tea. I found that out this morning. Are you only a tea drinker, Russ, or do you drink coffee too?
No, I've never had a cup of coffee in my life. I don't have the accent that Fran has, but I grew up in England, lived there till I was 10, and it was a tea drinking household then. I have one memory of going over to my great aunt's. This is about 10 years ago when I was visiting, and we had a cup of tea, and she was 100 years old, and after we were done with the cup of tea, she goes, "Well, would anyone like a gin and tonic now?" I was like, 100 years old? I said, "I'll stick with the tea right now." That was pretty fun.
That is excellent. I love that. That is great. Sean, you're the first for us, the fifth installment of Coffee with Coaches. We've had about almost 20 people on, and you are drinking hot chocolate this morning.
Well, I found that coffee makes me a little crazy, and sometimes I'll go for a mocha, but good sweetness, feels good, stays warm. I'm happy.
Oh, good for you. Perfect. And have you ever had coffee before, or you just?
Yeah, I mean, I've so many people around me drink it. I want to try it. I want to see if I can be cool like you. No, it doesn't work like that.
Well, the swimmers, always known swimmers in my career to be big coffee drinkers, because you have to get up at all hours early in the morning to go get in the pool, which I think is insane. And usually you're getting fueled by coffee, but I guess tea and hot chocolate is the drink of choice.
It works for us.
Yeah. Good. David, you and I are alone, brother. We're the coffee drinkers. How you take yours?
Depends on the time of the day. I've like I said, I have to give kudos to Fran and Russ, because I actually already had my cup of tea earlier this morning, and so I shift over to coffee. Just usually with a little cream. Then midday I have an espresso. So,
yeah. Get you right back on your feet for the afternoon, huh?
That's for the late afternoon push. So,
good for
always
you.
Drinking something.
Good for you. Well, guys, welcome to Coffee with Coaches. Good to have you on here. I knew it was going to be a fun group. We've got you guys have done some great things at UMass and have enjoyed building relationships with each of you in a different way, because you each have come in and out of the organization at different times. And we've got one person on here that is leaving the organization, and he is retiring, and that is Russ Yarworth, and as our men's swimming and diving coach. Had just an amazing career, Russ. What does retirement look like for you? I know it was a bittersweet decision. You and I spoke about it, and I know how deeply you care about our program in this university, having swam here and then coached here for 30 plus years. But tell me about all the feelings you've had making this decision, and what's ahead for you?
Yeah, well, obviously, as you said, it was very emotional to try and arrive at the decision, but I think it was time to step down. Made a lot easier by knowing or hoping at the point that Sean would be promoted to head coach. I knew that the program would stay in good hands, but I really feel that I've seen everything at UMass. I mean, I was here in the 70s when we had student protests, in the 80s when we had budget cuts and furloughs, in the 90s during the Calipari years, during the 2000s, I'll call those the Yarworth years if I can, and then now in the Bamford years. So it's been a tremendous ride. I've been thrilled and privileged to work with so many great athletes, fellow coaches, administrators, friends, and I'm ready to try some new stuff. I'm not quite sure what those new things will be. I must say that the last 2 months is certainly not how I scripted out the last semester of my coaching career, to have it come abruptly to a halt and not get to interact with the kids and colleagues as much. But I've been working around the house. We've been trying to communicate with the current team and the incoming kids, and obviously Sean and I communicating daily on the transition. And I'll circle back to that. The transition is going to be excellent. The kids will be in great hands, and we got good leadership. And I think that once hopefully things settle down with the current COVID-19 crisis, I think we got a bright future at the university in general, and with athletics in particular.
Yeah, no, that's great. I want to acknowledge that you, after 5 years of putting up with Fran down the hall from you, that was probably the final decision. That was the inflection point for you on making the decision to retire, right? I mean, let's be honest.
Well, actually, it was something that almost kept me there, because people on the hallway were asking me to stay, because I'm the only one that can keep him under control and keep him in his place. I mean, you should see the days where I hide his office chair. He can't handle that. He'd go apoplectic because he can't figure out where his chair is.
Fran, what do you have to say about that?
I'll just leave it with my lawyer. I'll just leave everything with my lawyer at the moment. Yeah. No, what a fun ride it's been. Congrats on a great career, Russ. It's very fortunate to come into UMass and get the office next door and learn so much. You're so generous with his time. And I think for a lot of us, sports, our programs are similar in many ways, and we might touch on that later. I learned so much, and you'd walk into Russ's office, you'd see the conference championships everywhere, and it was a great source of energy and inspiration. As I say, I've worked in colleges and universities for longer than I care to remember, but I've never come across someone as generous with their time. Different situations, particularly early in my tenure at UMass, his advice was so sage, so wise. It almost hurts me to say it and give him this level of praise right now, given the things he did to my office over the years. But congrats on a fantastic career, big fella. You'll be sorely missed. Cheers, Sanjay.
That's right. Cheers. And we'll have, Fran, I promise you, we're going to have a party where we'll get to roast Russ. So we'll give you the mic for a couple minutes.
Boy.
Look forward to that immensely.
I will say this. There was one time in the last 2 years where I walked down that hallway and I popped in to see you guys, and I noticed there was a nickel taped to the door of one of the offices. And does anybody care to tell the story? It's probably not a great story HR-wise. The HR people emailing me later. Does anybody want to give the nickel story away?
I'll start it. When a new guy comes into the department, you got to intimidate him right away so he knows what the pecking order is. So, early in Fran's tenure at UMass, I was walking by the office and he's drinking a cup of tea without a lid on it. So I just flipped the nickel out of it, hit the cup of tea, and spilled all over him. so he was a little upset by that. He can't take a joke.
I wasn't. I was amazed that you could. By the way, it was a brand new UMass How Are You Adidas golf shirt. Look, I was looking magnificent, if I may say so. And he's managed to throw this nickel. There wasn't a nickel. If it was me, I would have thrown a quarter, but Yarworth is cheap. So he throws this nickel that actually lands in the tee. The tee was full, pops out, and then goes, or the tee splashes, nickel hits me, goes all over my shirt. It was a fantastic. It was one of his best athletic achievements over the course of his time at UMass.
Well, I used to have quite a good hoops game, so I did play that. So then the next day, just to continue the story, I taped 6 nickels to Fran's door, and they've been there for what, 5 years now?
Yeah, they're staying. They're staying. It's
Just
yeah.
to keep the intimidation factor.
Very good. HR asked me to keep them up as
30
evidence.
cents. That's 30 cents. We could
Yeah.
go. That gets us towards a coffee or a tea at Dunkin'
Yeah.
Donuts. I like that. No, that's great. You guys have had great collegiality. I know Russ. It certainly, Fran intimated we're gonna miss you, man. It's and I didn't plan on starting the coffee with coaches this way. I actually wanted to wrap it up with this, but I did want to get your impressions on. Obviously, your last couple months here, given the circumstances, not being in the office, but we will get a chance to feature you at some later date and celebrate you. And I know that you've heard from a number of former coaches and student athletes and administrators, and certainly a credit to the career that you've had. So congratulations, my friend. And your protege, who's going to take over the program, Sean Clark, who swam for you and has been your assistant coach for the last few years, has been a head coach in his own right at Division I at Binghamton, had success there. Sean, welcome to the big chair and welcome to Coffee with Coaches. Tell us a little bit about your relationship with Russ first and foremost, and how you plan to carry on an unbelievable tradition in men's swimming here at the university.
Yeah, I don't know how even my size 14 feet can fill the shoes I'm expected to step into. I'm 6'5", but I'm 6'5" because I'm standing on the shoulders of a giant. Russ, I swam for Russ back in the day when we were both a fair bit younger. I came to campus and I stayed for like 15 years. So, over time, Russ has pretty much become my best friend, as well as my mentor, and, still my coach. So, I can't thank him enough for my personal development. And over the weeks here, in talking to my friends and other alums that have gone through the same, I mean, he's been just such a part of all of our lives. And in a way, I'm mad that I have to take over for him, because I can't. I mean, nobody can be Russ. Well, some people say thankfully, but so yeah, it's UMass, and UMass swimming has been my passion as well, even when I wasn't here. Russ and I would talk weekly anyway, and even when we competed. One of the worst events in my life was when I was an opposing coach in Boyden. I mean, I think I'm still scarred from that. I mean, it was the worst. So boy, I'm really honored and thrilled to be in this position, and looking forward. Boy, I'll give everything I can, using all the skills and all the resources I have to do good for Russ and for UMass swimming moving forward.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on your appointment. It was, we had a couple of conversations, and it was became an immediately an easy decision for us because of the relationship that you've built with our student athletes, your history with the program, and obviously Russ giving his 2 cents about how you'd be a great leader. So congrats. We're excited to have you at the head of the program and see what you can do with the men.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then we've got a breaking news announcement. I'm going to turn to Dave Jackson because we've got another appointment that we have not yet announced publicly, but we have announced it to our student athletes to a great ovation, which was awesome to see. And that's David Jackson, that you'll be taking over as the director of our track and field programs, men and women's programs. And with Julie Lafrenier's retirement here at the end of this year. And obviously, we've had some tremendous history between Julie and Ken O'Brien over the last 50 years. And you've come in as an assistant coach, made associate head coach. When I got here, it was only you and Ken and Julie in the office, and we've been build out the staff a little bit to try to help grow our two programs on the men's and women's side. And you've earned, just like I described with Sean, our student athletes, their interest in having you serve as our leader was apparent to us, and that's a credit to the relationships that you've built in recruiting, and then when they get here and developing that talent. And congratulations on the appointment for you. And what are you excited about as we move into the future with Minutemen, Minutewomen, track and field, cross country?
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. I think the connections and the enthusiasm and the sincerity that the kids, the student athletes have realized is nice to see, that they champion, a singular sort of directorship. I think what I'm looking forward to from both of our programs is just to have everyone on the same page and just us becoming a bit more cohesive as a UMass cross country and track and field program as a whole. The men and women for most of our event groups train together, and so they build a rapport and a relationship and mutual respect for each other. And that's one of the things that, internally is my charge, is to connect the groups, not just from here moving forward, but, our alumni base as well, is just making sure that we are all recognizing and understanding that, where they are, being a part of the UMass athletics family and the UMass cross country track and field family is a critical part of that. And I had a Zoom call with a couple of our alums a few Saturdays ago, and it was just basically the initial 10 years of folks that were here during the time that I coached. And it was awesome because there were guys that didn't necessarily cross over with each other, but here they are on a call. I think we probably had like 30, 40 guys on the call. Here they are on the call, from, Dan Barry, who's a police officer. He's in his cruiser. And I'm like, should you be on the phone in your cruiser? To guys that were, just had kids, and they're like, I have about 30 minutes because my kid's still sleeping. And, it was nice to see the connection. And it's one of the things that, to be able to have that and to be able to connect both genders moving forward is going to be a tremendous opportunity. And Julie and Coach O.B. I couldn't have had better mentors and people to learn from about how much they bleed maroon. I mean, both of them are Massachusetts natives and went to UMass and, stayed at UMass, essentially. I think, I'm not sure if Russ or Julie have more time in. I think, okay. I was trying to help you out, Russ.
No,
I think she graduated a year ahead of me, though. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
awesome.
You've highlighted, the contributions of those two in building a foundation for that program. And I think as you mentioned, the alums, and this is true of all of our programs, athletics is really a transcendent connector. Like you don't have to have participated in the same class or same group or same team in order to have that connection. And I know, Russ, you've done an amazing job, as good as anybody in our department, over your time of fostering those relationships. Fran, I want to turn to you because as a coach who's just joined us in the last 5 years, I've just been really impressed with how you've built a relationship with our soccer alums. and know that how important that is as a lifeblood aspect of your program to build those relationships, build up the interest in our program, obviously the financial support around it. But you've I think learned from Russ and others, and you've obviously been coaching for a number of years and have built great relationships across every stop that you've been. But I just I wanted to talk a little bit about that in terms of generating that interest from an alumni base in a sport here that has had ups and downs competitively, had a really long tenured coach in Sam Koch, who was a phenomenal individual and a member of our athletic department. I wish I had the chance to get to know Sam and Elaine Sortino, who both passed before their time and before I was able to get to the university. But I know that you've really focused on that, and I want you to talk a little bit about your strategy there, about how important that is to our program and how you've been able to develop those relationships.
Yeah, cheers, Ryan. Sam Coke was an awesome guy. It was fantastic. We'd go to these tournaments. I'd plump my chair down next to him. We'd just chat away. I was at Bowdoin for a while. He was a Colby guy. So we'd have good fun chatting. Terrific guy who left a lot of alums with really fond memories of UMass. I think a couple of things. First of all, when I came in, just talking to Russ and seeing, because you go in the office every day, our programs are similar in many ways, resource-wise, etc. And you'd see the conference championships and you saw the alumni connections where the guys are just coming in all the time, families coming back, guys in their 40s and 50s, 60s old, are coming back in. And you could see the bond he had forged with many people over generations. I was fortunate that I started out a long time ago as a young assistant at Boston College. And I forged back in the 80s some relationships with UMass lads when we were young guys hanging around Boston. Kevin Flynn, Mike Gibbons, after that, Ted Priestley. And these guys were the core of what became an alumni leadership group. And they were generous and they opened up their network and invited me and UMass soccer back in. I think the key for us, though, was what was happening, because you and I came in roughly the same time to UMass, and you can only get alumni engaged and excited if they're excited about the support the athletic department gives. So I think it was good timing. We had a network. I'd seen the value of Russ generating a network. I had some UMass contacts going back over many years, and it coincided. The picture I was painting was backed up by the athletic department, by you, by everyone else in the athletic department to give us a bit of buzz, bit of energy. Manifested itself in better facilities, better travel experiences for our kids, for our student athletes, how we ate, how we traveled, how we rested. So they saw that it wasn't all left in their hands. And it was really it was a collaborative effort between the soccer program, the athletic department, and our alumni. And I think because of that, it's turned out fantastically well. We now have alumni networking night where a lot of our alums come back. Typically, it's in April or May. We then go late May. Tom Giordano, Gio puts together a group of us, go to an MLS game, Yankee Stadium. So we get all our New York alums to Yankee Stadium. And now we've got a New York night, and now we've set up a Boston night at the UMass Club, which is a fantastic place. And we packed the place at our first one and look forward to doing the second one, hopefully later in the summer when the world reverts back to normal. But I think the starting point was, the first week I got to UMass was to head to Russ's office, find out what he was doing, then reach out to some guys who were very generous, and then finally the athletic department, and a good shout out to you, got behind what we were trying to do. And I think it's led to a very healthy relationship now between the alumni and the UMass.
Yeah, well, one of the questions I wanted to ask this group, and the reason why I assembled you all, is to talk through, the resource piece of what we do in athletics and what you all do specifically in your programs. And Fran, you've done an amazing job of understanding those resources, converting them into success in the last 5 years. You've won an A10 championship, regular season and a tournament championship, gone to the NCAAs, been nationally ranked, all of those things. Russ, your success of number of A10 championships, as you mentioned, especially in that 2000 to 2010 time period, you won so many in that 10-year stretch. And how many total, Russ? 18, 16? What is it?
16.
16. Okay, 16 total, which is awesome. But I want to highlight for this for you guys, because with our programs, obviously we try to accentuate all the really positive things that are happening and the things that you guys are doing. But there are resource challenges with each of your programs. I think between the 3 programs, you only amount to just about 10 scholarships total between the 3. And that's well below what the NCAA maximums are for each of your sports. Which is hard. It's hard to do when you're trying to generate interest from recruits in the programs that you are coaching, and it's hard to maintain success. You all have done it in remarkable ways. The challenges that you face with that, I want to just talk through that and be candid about what those challenges are, how you sell the university, the experience, the educational opportunity that young men have to come into our programs, and how you're packaging equivalency in scholarships across a number of student athletes, and what your sort of philosophy is on that. Russ, I'll start with you, the competitive environment, how you build that given your challenge in scholarship resources.
Let me preface it by saying I think it's a departmental thrust and effort to do well. And there's 2 people, I think, that are really contributing towards the success of the program. One is Dave Biancamano, who's really, I think, upgraded the engagement of fundraising. He makes us feel like it's important. He makes it feel like we're important. And our fundraising over the last 5 years has been tremendous because of his engagement. And then Sean Quinn, the master of the Excel spreadsheet, and he and Sean Clark have become best Excel spreadsheet buddies. All right. He has been great at moving around and allocating resources so that we understand what our budget constraints are, right? So now, how do you deal with less scholarships? The university back in the 1990s was fairly affordable even for out-of-state kids. So we would go out and we'd look for kids who maybe had the financial means to come here, but also were at the beginning of their improvement curve. We'd identify them as kids who we thought could have a real good improvement curve in college. As we moved into the next phase, when the cost of attendance at UMass got so high, we had to kind of change our recruiting profile, not only because of the cost, but because of the quality of education, the quality of student that they're looking for. So we started to look for the kids who could qualify for the newly assigned academic merit awards. And if we could find the kid that would get the 12 to 14 to now 16,000 merit award and roll in at 8 to 10,000 athletic award, then we were able to offer 50%, which is about as high as we would go. We go a little higher with that with some special kids. But I think taking that money side out of it, it was more identifying the kids that would fit into our culture and again, had the opportunity to improve in college. And we're seeing that, and I got to take my hat off to Sean because he's such a good coach and good at tracking progress and stuff. We had 20 of our swimmers of the 21 that went to A10s this year all did their best times. And that is a phenomenal result. And I think it's a good marker for we're getting the right kids that are going to improve once they're in the program. Sean, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think it's important that we, as you said, we identify the student athletes that are going to fit best in our program. And if they're on a chase just for scholarship dollars, then that's not the motivational factor that we want involved.
That's right.
They have to take into consideration the academic rankings of the university, the potential life success that they're going to have, the enjoyment of the athletic, the student athlete experience on the team, and just hanging out with the guys. I mean, you can't put a price on the lifelong relationships that you're going to develop and who you're going to get to have in your sphere forever. I mean, a couple thousand here and there, it just can't be the deciding factor. So I think that we appreciate and our recipients really appreciate what they're able to have. And it does matter a little bit on the competitive side of things. I mean, sometimes another institution will swoop in and, snatch away somebody we thought was going to be a real player for us. But at the same time, I mean, look, if that's the right decision, well, that's the right response. I mean, we want the right decision for the right reasons. And it's really worked out well. It's not to say we couldn't use a little more here and there, but balance is of high priority.
Yeah.
To add to that, I never try to talk a kid into coming to UMass. I want to give them the information so they can make an informed decision so that they want to be at UMass and they want to be part of UMass swimming and diving. And that, I think, is the key to building that long-term alumni involvement, is that they've made the decision and they realize that UMass is the great place that it is, that provides so many great opportunities. And Sean and I have, we've agreed on that for years. Even when I recruited a tall, skinny kid in 1989 from Bellefonte, Pennsylvania, he agreed it was the place for him.
What have I done?
David, in your program, obviously we're trying to recruit student athletes that we've strategically put our financial scholarship resources into those distance kids that can compete across 3 seasons for us in cross country, indoor and outdoor season. To tell us a little bit about that, about how you manage and attract kids that aren't on scholarship to compete, to score for us, to have success in track and field, and what you're selling about UMass.
I think it's similar to what Russ and Sean spoke about is, selling what we have to offer. Certainly the level of just how our university has risen amongst the ranks of the elite academic institutions. I mean, being a top 25 research institution is a huge selling point. Not most, but a good percentage of our guys are interested in the business school. So, Eisenberg is a huge selling point. What we want is similar to, I think, what all of us recruit towards is you have to want to be at UMass. And, sometimes, it seems not having the money to talk about takes that out of the picture. It takes that one piece of the quote unquote bargaining off the table. And it's apples to apples. What can our university provide you during these 4 to 5 years of your growth? We provide mentorship, we provide guidance, we provide you space to grow and become a man. But beyond that, what does the university supply you with? How does it prepare you for the rest of your life? And I think, from our standpoint with cross country, track and field, again, most of our cross guys are not on money either. So it's an environment of we have a network of men who have been through the same thing, experienced the same thing, came here because they wanted to run and compete and believe that they can compete at the highest level. And that's what we do. And so the guys that, we recruit, they kind of got a chip on their shoulder. Maybe some of these other schools recruited them, but said, oh, we can't give you any money. I'm like, listen, that's fine. I believe in myself as a coach and my staff. I'm like, we can get you there, and we'll beat the kid that got money at the other school. And so that typically is a big driving force, not just beating another kid that's on money, but pushing yourself to develop the maximum level of your athletic ability. And that coincides with, all of our STEM kids, our Eisenberg kids, like getting internships. We have a networking dinner with our alums, them being able to meet these guys. It's like, man, you guys are out there doing this? Holy mackerel. I mean, we have some really high-powered, alums out there that are moving and shaking the world. And it's great for our guys to see they too had the same process, and I think having Coach O'Brien as a 51-plus year person to lead the program, it creates such continuity. Me being able to work with him for 10 years, it allowed and still does allow for continuity, similarity. Like, we talk about the same points. We have the same mentality, just as all these guys on the call. There's a brotherhood in UMass athletics, and I think we all have this same kind of expectation of our young men to really grow and be awesome people in the world. So,
sure.
Yeah.
Fran, I know specifically with men's soccer, you've got a real challenge in terms of our league. Our league is really highly competitive nationally. We've gotten multiple bids into the NCAA tournament. Aside from us, and you're at, I don't know, right around 3 scholarships total at certain times based on how you're allocating your money. And then, the NCAA max is 9.9, which is, I think we have 13 schools in our league. 11 of them are at 9.9. St. Bonaventure and UMass, I think, are the only 2 that aren't fully funded, and we're well below the rest. And a credit to you that you've won the league. You finished in the top half of the league most years that you've been here, which is just phenomenal. It's a great challenge. Tell us about your mindset, about your philosophy in trying to build a roster that can be competitive in our league, which means you can be competitive nationally.
Yeah, Ryan, sure. So I think, I knew the terms of reference coming in. So I knew the scholarship situation coming in. For me, what was most important was that we could create an environment where we could make young people better. In many ways, I was coming from a pro environment in the MLS, and in many ways, it's similar. You've got throughout the world in pro sports, affluent clubs who buy ready-made players. And then you've got clubs on much lower budgets who grow their own. And instead of us going out and buying a 20-year-old or putting a 20-year-old on a full scholarship who's played on youth national teams, we get 17, 18-year-olds in most cases, and we have to develop them. So when I came in, I felt, what are we bringing? And I think the value proposition, there's a big buzz around culture nowadays, and for us, it was just simple. So our value proposition is you'll get better. If you come to us, you'll get better and you'll have fun. And when you actually delve into that, not every place has that. And then, we're backed up. We had to be backed up, a combination again of alumni and the administration to create an environment to get better. You can only grow your own if you have practice facilities. You can only grow your own if you've got good nutrition. You can only grow your own if you've got top sports rehab people. So the combination of all these things allow us get 17-year-olds and develop them. So that ultimately was we have to offer something. If we can't offer scholarships, we have to offer something. And if we can say get better, and have fun, that's a value. I think the other thing, I came to UMass at a time where it's been exploding academically. This institution has been exploding, and a lot is made of rankings. But I think beyond rankings, both I've experienced this in the athletic department, but even more importantly with our players. You know, UMass is now top 25 ranked public institution, but it's a place where people are happy. Our students are happy. And no matter how highly ranked you are, if a recruit comes on campus and we take them downtown for a meal, or they have a meal in one of our restaurants on campus, if the students, our current players, are not happy either with the program or with the university experience, that's damaging. We're fortunate to be in an environment where students, not just student athletes, students like being at UMass. So the combination that for us to get better and have fun needed our alumni, needed our administration, and most importantly, needed an environment where there's thousands and thousands of kids going around campus speaking positively about the place.
Yeah. Excellent. Guys, we're just over, I think, 35 minutes into this, session. Fueled by Dunkin' again. I'll give them a plug. They're great. They've sent us all some gear, some coffee, some things. And for those guys that don't drink coffee, maybe you've donated your significant others drink it. Who knows? But Duncan's been fueling this coffee with coaches all over the last month, and excited to get you guys on here. Tell me a little bit about each of you, about what you've done to connect with our young people during this tough time. You are leaders. Our student athletes take cues from our head coaches, certainly trying to drive home the point of finishing the semester strong. I know we've got 3 programs here that are tremendously successful academically. You've got kids that are really take a lot of pride in what they do in the classroom. But what's been the message? What's been the talking points? How often are you talking to our kids? And what are you saying to them when you get them into calls and Zoom calls or conference calls or any of those, or one-on-one for that matter? Russ and Sean, we'll start with you guys.
Yeah, sure. Well, we were, I guess you can use the word lucky in that we'd completed our season. So the kids did get closure on their competition. So as we were on our break from training, our main focus has been, as you said, communication. And that's taken many forms, making sure they're on top of their academics, making sure they're communicating with each other, not just with us. And we've used email and texting and Zoom to do all those. I think we also wanted to make sure we still had a presence. So I worked with Riley in media relations to, the first thing we did is we did a daily release of who our prospects were that had committed. We did 2 a day for a week, and then a website announcement. And that got the kids engaged that were coming in, and it got the team to, oh yeah, I remember him when he visited, involved. And after that, rather than having our team banquet, we did the same thing. We announced 2 of the team awards a day for a week and then posted on the website. So it kind of got everyone engaged and talking back and forth and making them realize there still was that community. I got to give a shout out to Pete Montague at Student Athlete Services, because he's been great in communicating with them about staying on top of their online learning and processing any of the holds they have, and making sure that they're doing the pass-fail option if they have it. I've kind of been phasing out of my direct contact with the team and funneling more of my information towards the alumni base, which I hope to keep doing once I'm retired. But Sean has been taking over more of the direct communication with the team. So I'll defer to him now about what he's been processing.
Yep.
Yeah, Russ just touched on it. I think one of the things that's made our team so powerful is our locker room and the leadership in the locker room. So as coaches, we do try to provide a contact point and do some reaching out from the top. But I think it's been so much more important for our team that they stay in touch with each other, and that the captains have been organizing their Zoom calls and group chats and, reflecting on the topics that we might provide them. So that's just been an amazing evolution in the past few years. Great group of outgoing captains and just as great a group coming in. So I need that support moving forward. We give the responsibility to the team, and I think that actually helps them to have a role. And to look, there's a lot of uncertainty around, and I think when they can simmer on it and reflect and develop their questions that they can bring back to us, I think that's been an important part of what we do. And then as an individual sport, I mean, I've been sending out some texts and some emails and, just a poke here and there to let the guys know that we're still here, that, we're thinking about them, we care about them, bring any questions or concerns back to us. So while they're trying to navigate it, they're not alone. None of us are alone in this. And I think that sort of internal leadership is invaluable.
Yeah, it's been interesting because swimming, you have to dive in the cold water every day, so there's a lot of grumbling sometimes. Now all of a sudden they're grumbling about not being able to dive in the water every day, and it's hard. We don't have our medium to train in. We don't have the opportunity to give them workouts or suggested workouts at this time of year. So the team builder stuff that strength and conditioning sending out have been great. We've sent them some dry land workouts and routines that they are familiar with, but not having a pool is starting to affect them, because swimmers, like runners, are weird dudes, because they got to do it every day, and when they don't, they get jumpy and antsy. So we are starting to see that a little bit, and hopefully the restrictions, it'll be safe enough soon that they can get back in the water. You don't want to see swimmers running and being on land that often. They're not really land animals. So,
David, you guys got through 2 of your 3 competitive seasons. You were about to start the outdoor as we headed into spring break. You were coming out of spring break and had some meets planned for the next 5 or 6 weeks. And our conference championship would be in a couple of weeks here. But what was your message? What's been your message and that of your coaching staff with our group of men and women?
Yeah, I mean, we've been staying in contact. I'd send out every 9 days or so, hey, checking in, what's, I'll ask them random questions, what's been the coolest meal you've prepared, since this pandemic has struck. And it's really, I'm fortunate to have such a good staff where they have a strong rapport with the kids that they work with day in and day out. And so part of my check is also checking up with them, as a part of my team. But they're like supervisors. I'm like, hey, give me the scoop. Should I be concerned about something? Is everyone okay? And it's just a matter of consistently reaching out. And I've tried to become more attentive to, if someone pops in my mind, boop, I send them a text message, or I'll call them, or I'll, say, hey, what's going on? How you doing? And the same has been true with our incoming recruits, checking in on them. We have some folks coming in from the West Coast, and it's like, oh boy, how are you guys doing out there? What's going on? And it's been very interesting. And the primary part, like you said, is because, we were through indoor season and getting primed for outdoor, which is usually where we can actually make a bigger push because we have added events. And, I feel tough for our our javelin throwers who've been training all year without any sort of ability to compete, and then they get right there. It's like they're ready to throw, and it's like, hey, guess what? No throwing. And I think it's been tough, especially for our seniors and things like that, for them to lose it. But I think one of the things when you are an Olympic sport, especially for us, the folks on the call, is that resiliency is a part of what happens when you are kind of the quote unquote underdog, like you just learn it. And, I tell the guys like, hey man, if you ever needed a opportunity to see what the real world is like, this is it. Nothing is guaranteed. So make sure you cherish the moments you have. You take advantage of opportunities that are put in front of you at that time. And you have a plan for what if things don't go my way? What next? And so our guys have actually been pretty good. I just think it's tough. I've said to a couple of them, it's tough going from, I'm in college, I can do whatever I want to. Now you're back at home with your parents and you cannot. A few guys have been struggling with that, but, I think it also allows them some time to connect with their families as a young adult, which they wouldn't necessarily have done during the summertime because you're out and about with your buddies because everyone's home. I think this time has made our guys really appreciate what they have as athletes and time with their peers. So it's been interesting, but I think everyone will grow stronger out of it.
Sure. Fran, I know for your guys, obviously you got your competitive season in the fall, but you do as good a job as anybody on our staff of developing talent in the non-traditional season. And I know the springtime is an important piece of your overall picture from an academic year standpoint and getting our guys and developing them in the spring to get prepared for the fall. What has this meant for your program? How have you attacked it with the young men in your program?
Yeah, Ryan, it's obviously disappointing, but there's a much bigger issue out there than us right now. Training in the spring. What we've tried to do is just stay in touch. We get together once a week with all our staff. Again, just echoing what Russ was saying. It's all of our staff right now are playing a big role. We get together on a Tuesday. We bring in our student workers, our equipment. Everyone's in on a Tuesday for a quick Zoom call with the team. We get together on a Thursday, the whole team. Sometimes we'll break it in by position. Big shout out to assistant coaches Ben, associate head coach Ben, and Ryan Hewlins. They're developing, stimulating video for the players. So we go through that on a Thursday, and then on a Friday we have a trivia night. So we just have a bit of fun on a Friday for about 30 minutes, 5 o'clock on a Friday. Stay in touch via text and things. As different guys here have alluded to, we were fortunate, very fortunate that we got our fall season in. The downside to that is now there's little bits of concern coming as to how quickly can we get out of this situation and what will the fall look like again. So the upside was we got a fall in. The downside is where next one's up for the next season, and they're obviously starting to express some concern as to how quickly can they get back to some sort of new normal. But by and large, again, huge shout out to all of the folk connected with our program. Marissa, our athletic trainer, is doing a great job staying on top of injuries. With the sports performance has been fantastic during this period. So all in all, our guys have been really impressed with them making the most of a tough situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, we're nearing the end of our time here. I just want to ask you one final question. If anything, this last 6 weeks or so has, I think made a lot of us reflect on what we have, our role in our personal and professional lives, and we're all at different points in our life and our careers, and it's allowed me to kind of take stock of the things that I have in my life and kind of reflect on what I'm grateful for. And I'd ask you the same question. What do you been thinking about? What are you grateful for given, where we are and what's ahead, and just taking stock of your own, personal situations. Russ, what are you grateful for, man?
I think it's got to be relationships, family relationships, friend relationships, professional relationships, and obviously with the athletes. You really start to appreciate them when the face-to-face is taken away from you. And it almost, I think everyone's alluded to this, it's almost improved during these 6 weeks. Your communication skills have gotten better. Your empathy for what other people are going through. My sister's a nurse, and she was in the COVID-19 ward on Friday at the hospital she's at. So, I'm so proud of her that she's there, putting time in this horrible crisis. And, we've been interacting a lot. So, valuing and cherishing relationships.
Yeah. Sean, how about you, man?
I used to think I was pretty good company for myself, but this is putting a stress on that. So, reaching out and having people reach out has been amazing. I know my mother is especially appreciative because I have much more time to, I can't put it off for weeks. So, Zoom calls with family and, really just making sure that we do say we love you and have the closeness that we're missing. It's kind of special.
Yeah. David, how about you, man?
I guess it's actually the same as the guy that Russ and Sean. It's really connecting with folks, and it's interesting. I said to my wife, I said, after a while you reach out to people and they don't call you back. This is pre-pandemic, and you're like, you know what? I've called you for 5 years and you've never called me back. And then something like this makes you realize you never know what people's circumstances are. And so you reach out again and you say, hey, just thinking about you, hoping you're okay. And honestly, being neighborly, walking around my neighborhood, this has forced folks to actually recognize and actually be more polite, if you will, and wave and say hi because you're happy to see people out and about and just walking and kids playing and you can hear it. I'm very appreciative of that. I'm appreciative of being able to have a job that I'm connected with awesome folks like you guys. So thank you.
Good stuff. Fran, we're going to finish with you, man.
Yeah, no, thanks for putting this together, Ryan. Really enjoyed it. So, no, we're settled in here and out in South Deerfield. A lot of time to play with the kids. Spend a lot more time. It's been fantastic. We set up a little makeshift tennis court in the driveway, so we're having a little game every day. I won't say I'm starting to get my backside beaten by my 16-year-old, which is tough on the ego. I tried to text Russ. He sent the pigeon carrier back. Russ is still using pigeon messaging, so on. So, but no, it's been it's slowed us down. It's all slowed us down, and I think Zoom is great, but I think it makes us appreciate just being around people, whether it's in a work environment, extended family that you don't have access to right now, in person. So, as the guys say, it'll pass. We'll be wiser for it. I'm looking forward to it passing soon.
Good. Well, if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. None of us got into this business to be on Zoom 24/7. We all get in for the relationships. Russ, you highlighted that, and I can't wait to see you guys in person again, hopefully sometime soon, and get back to business and trying to be better every day for the young people in our programs. Thanks for joining us today. Congratulations to David and Sean on your appointments, and Russ, to you on an unbelievable career. Just remarkable. Cheers to you. Great to get the four of you here together. Fran, David, Sean, and Russ. Coffee with Coaches, fueled by Dunkin' Donuts today. Thanks, guys.